All right. For the database, for the project, am I still sharing? Yeah. So for the project we're talking about now, like I said, you need to write out the functionalities one by one. And I wish I have a pen and paper so that I can be writing my own functionalities. Now, the first functionality you are writing is users should be able to log in. That is sign up, register. Users should be able to log in. So the authentication is one of it. Now, the second thing you want to do is users should be able to fund their wallet. It means that there has to be a wallet. So users need to have a wallet first before they are funding the wallet. So the second thing is if they fund their wallet, there should be a transaction history. So there will be transaction history for that wallet. Now, this is like 3 basic functionalities you have noticed that we can call out. This is how I do it. You call out the functionalities. Now, the next thing you want to do is design the schemas independently first before you start defining how they relate to each other. First thing is the user authentication. What do you need from a user? You need their name, you need their email, you need their password, whatever information you need. That one is going to be separate independently. And number two, what does a wallet needs to have? Now, a wallet needs to have a wallet balance, the day the wallet was created. Maybe you want to give it a title. If it's a wallet that saves in dollar or saves in naira, you want to also add the currency of the wallet. So that's for that part. Then the third part is the transaction history. What do you want to do for each transaction history? You want to know how much was funded, whether it's for credit or debit. You also want to know when the transaction happened. Now, these are functionalities, the database, the schemas independently. The next thing you want to do is how does these schemas relate to each other? So the first one, which is authentication, is a standalone. It doesn't relate to anybody. Now the second one is the wallet. You need to know who owns the wallet. So it is up for you to say whether you want to use the user ID to mark who owns the wallet, or you want to use their email addresses and their name to mark who owns the wallet. Now, at this point, you've already defined the schemas independently. You want to determine how they relate to each other now. So use your choice to decide, okay, I want to go with the ID. So at the point you are creating a wallet, you are also adding the user ID to the wallet so that you know which user owns which wallet, like that. Then the next thing is the transaction history. How will the transaction history relate to this authentication and the wallet? First, you want to know the name of the person that performed the transaction, or maybe their ID, or maybe their email address. Secondly, you want to know which wallet was the transaction performed in or from. So that's the second part of how they relate. So this is like a basic way of designing the schema. Now, except the client or maybe the company you are working with have special needs. We have special needs. We want to have 2 or 3 wallets. One wallet should be able to deduct in 3 months. One should be able to deduct in 6 months. One should be a fixed deposit, or maybe just like that. Maybe a user can have different wallets in different currencies, or maybe saving in coins and so on and so forth. So it's a lot of work. It's not simple. If I tell you it's simple, it's a lie. And that is why they are paying you for it. If they can't do it, they would have done it themselves. So that is why they are paying you, the back-end person, to figure it out. Now, if you remember at the beginning of the class, I told you are not paid for what you know or what you cram. It's for what you can figure out. So if you are given a job, as at that time you are given the job, you may not know it, but if you know and you're certain that I can do research, I can figure it out. That's all that matters. So you pick it up, figure it out. So that's how design of a database coming from. If you're lucky, you're going to see who will design the database. If you're not lucky, that's your job. That's your job number 1. Start from designing of your schema. All right. So is there any other question, or you have something to say so we can begin? How to deploy deploy a project, definitely we're going to deploy a project. Now, when it comes to deploying project, there are so many ways to deploy your project. But the best and the easiest way I like is using GitHub, which is why we must first learn how to push to GitHub. You must learn how to push to GitHub. When you push to GitHub, then it is easy to deploy to any of the cloud storage you have. We have before Heroku used to be free. I would have used Heroku to teach you, but now Heroku is no longer free. We have other free ones. I think there is Cyclic and there is Render, and I use the two of them depending on when I want to build a free project. So I will teach you how to either use Render or Cyclic, and you use that. Now AWS is free, but you need to put in your card details in order to create the account. So for AWS, I don't know which other one might be free. I don't know about DigitalOcean or Azure, but you are going to learn how to deploy a project, and that will be the last thing we will do that marks the end of your program. Now, when it comes to how projects are hosted, it depends. It depends. Now, you as a backend developer, if I teach you now, I'm also going to teach you a cloud storage and how to deploy to a cloud. Now, if you deploy your project to a cloud, a front-end developer may not know how to deploy to a cloud. You will not force a person to deploy to a cloud. So, but if they know, the two of you can deploy to the same cloud. But if they don't know, you allow them to deploy to wherever they want to deploy. There are different hosting for front end. There is Vercel, there's Netlify, there is Namecheap. There are so many of them that can be deployed for front end, but some of these things do not work for back end. For back end, it has to be strictly the cloud. It has to be cloud. So it doesn't matter whether the front end and the back end are deployed on the same place. It doesn't really matter now. Even if they are deployed on the same place, it will be treated as if they are deployed to different places. They will not know where each one is deployed. So the most important thing is deploy it and get the URL to where it was deployed to. That's the most important thing. To any other question before we begin? Any question? Now the last assignment, I said pick a number. Persons dropped number, some persons did not drop number. I was surprised to then see people submitting an assignment where they did not drop numbers. Now, and also sometimes I notice the attendance too. People mark attendance, we are not in class. I understand too, but no issue, nothing to worry, no pressure at all. We are all one, we are doing it together. But the assignment, the purpose of the assignment is not that the program is asking me to give you an assignment. That's not the main purpose. The main purpose is to know how far you are learning, how you are learning, what you actually know. That's the reason for the assignment. Now, the project we're going to give, which is going to be starting at the end of this class, might be your biggest project in this program. It might be the last project. It might be, but I don't know how I'll do it yet. I will give out the project. We may be having sessions. We're not teaching anything new. We're just people who are doing their assignment. They will be coming back to ask questions based on what they are doing, based on what they are doing. Like, I think we have barely, is it 5 weeks or 4 weeks, I will be done. So which is why this is the perfect time to give the assignment. Now, if you drop number and you pick a number, please answer the particular question that will come to that number. Even if it is difficult, we'll fix classes where you will come and ask questions based on what you are doing. If you want to share your screen, I will also give you the opportunity to share your screen. But if you don't drop number, please do not answer the assignment. Now, in as much as I want to be lenient. I'm not the only person going through the platform. I'm also not the only person monitoring the assignment. So you might be seeing only 4 or 5% drop numbers, and at the end of the day, you'll be seeing assignment from 10, 15 persons, and you'll be like, what am I doing? So I want to be on the same page with everybody. If you drop number, you pick the number you want to answer. If you don't drop number, please let us know that you did not drop number before submitting the assignment. It's all right. So any other question? Any other thing? No. For now, we've not given numbers yet. And we're just talking about the next phase of the project. I'm just trying to make sure that what happened the last time will not happen again. But we're going to pick numbers again based on what will be your final project. Pick the project, pick a number, and it will be recorded for you. The assignment may not be concluded in 1 week. It may take you 2 weeks to finish it, which is why I'm giving it very early. Now, during that period of 2 weeks, we'll be coming to class, we'll be attending to everybody and their challenges. But make sure the number you pick, you answer the question, and make sure you do the assignment. Like that's where we determine what you know. With what I have taught you, you can build a simple backend. Now, it's not complete. It's not complete. There are still things to learn, but it is a good place to start. So it's a good space. It's only when you start building projects that you can start learning other smaller things that may not be in class. And while you are learning, while you are building it, which is why I want to start building it now that you have remaining 4 weeks, so that if there is anything you come across, I still have time to teach you that particular thing you're building. Now, it is easier to learn it when you encounter the challenge than to learn it when you've not seen the challenge and I'm just teaching you how to do it. It's not that simple. So, all right. When it comes to deploying, as a backend, it's done differently. It's almost the same thing as a front end. Yeah, it's almost the same thing at the front end. Now, let's say for the front end, you can deploy to any hosting account and you buy a domain and connect it to that hosting account. The same thing with the front back end. You deploy to any cloud and you buy a domain and connect it to any cloud. Now, the thing is, sometimes some companies do not buy domain for back end, but that's not a problem. The cloud where you are going to deploy to will give you a domain name, a simple domain name to use. So you get to use that domain name and give it to the front-end developer. But it is the front end that must buy a domain. Sometimes you don't get to see the back end. So whether they buy domain, whether they don't buy domain, you will not know. So, but you deploy it, where you deploy it, they will give you the generated dummy domain name. You use that domain name to build your project. It will not break at all. It works fine. And that will be. Now, I would have loved to group it, but we are not all the same. We don't have the same timing. We don't do the same things. Now, some persons could be free in the afternoon, some are free in the night, some are free in the morning. So if you group it, what is the chances or what is the possibility that that particular group is going to finish that project? Or maybe they will come together to discuss and finish that project. It might be difficult because we don't have the same free time or number of free hours. So grouping will be difficult, but I also go with it. Now, if you want to be grouped, I also give that opportunity for groups. For those who want to be in groups too, I might give that opportunity for those who want to be in groups. Now, the thing is this, one phase is going to build for e-commerce. Now, I don't know what they've taught the front-end persons. So maybe they've not taught them how to consume APIs. Maybe they did, And also, I don't know when you will be done with your own APIs so that they can be consumed. But the front end, I've told them that a group on the back end will build the e-commerce APIs for them. They are building e-commerce. All of them are building e-commerce. But for us, maybe we'll have 2 or 3 person build for e-commerce. If you are very fast enough, you can send them your URL and maybe your project documentation to consume the API. But if you don't, no problem. Just build your backend like that and it will be fine. So in groups, all right, if groups will be fine before the end of today's class, we'll know and then we'll fix that up. So the major things that needs to be taught is when trying to, there are so many, at so many points in time, you'll be sending users emails. You will be sending them emails. So it's very, very important you know how to send out emails. I think that's one part. And then the second part is most cases you will need to verify that the user is logged in before they are doing anything. Now, the simple way to fund a wallet is if you create the wallet, initially the wallet balance will have a default value of 00. So now based on the amount that the user is posting to the backend, now the backend is simply making a post request, a front end rather, is simply making a post request with the amount. Although in between it, there's going to be a payment gateway that will hold the amount and verify that the user has actually made payment before the post request will proceed. But they're simply making a post request. The backend receives the post request, make sure that the user is logged in. Based on the user authentication, find who the user is, find their wallet, and then add that number to their wallet. That's simply what wallet does. So it's the payment gateway that collects the money, but the backend just collects the number, which is the amount that was funded. So you collect the amount and then you make payment. When you're making payment, you increase the amount in the wallet. Anytime they send you a post request, you're just simply adding the numbers together. You're just adding the numbers together. You're just adding the number. So for every time you add the number, you also create a wallet, a transaction history. So it means you're going to be having 3 schemas or possibly 2 schemas, depending on how you design your database. Now, if you design it to be 3 independent schemas, it's fine. If you design it to be 2 schemas, it's also fine. 1 schema for the user, 1 schema for the wallet, and 1 schema for the wallet transactions, like that. So, all right, let's go to what we have for today, which will be how to send emails. And actually we can demo that wallet thing. I can if we have the time, but let's go with sending emails first before we talk about the project. So here we have, here we have middleware. This is the middleware to validate. This is the email to validate. Okay. So do we have any more questions before we begin? Do we have any more questions? The reset, now you can use a patch request. It makes more sense to use patch requests. But if you still want to keep it as a post request, nobody will beat you. In fact, nobody's coming to check, except you have a senior developer that will check your code. But keeping it as a patch request is perfect, but you can also keep it as a post request. All right, I think this font size is okay. This font size should be good enough, but if it's not, you let me know. This font size should be good enough. So going through what we have, we'll have a user model where you have the email, the full name, the password, the phone number, and then we're having active with the default of true. And then we have our .env file. And then we have our .env file, and then we have our user model. And then we have our user model with the full name, the password, the phone number, and then we're having active with the default of true. And then we have our .env file, and then we have our user model with the full name, the password, the phone number, and then we're having active with the default of true. And then we have our There's not much in it. The Mongo URL, the access token. Now I'm going to talk about the refresh token possibly before the end of the program, but also talk about the active token too. They are the same thing. The same way you generate access token is still the same way you generate these other tokens. All right. So that is our function. This is the file that houses all our functions to get one, functions to get all, like that. And this is our main app where we also define our routes, define the route and the functions to call them by. All right. And here we have a middleware. So the first thing we want to do is to actually check out where we need that email. At this point here, now after you save the user details, you want to send them an email. That's the first thing. And also you want to send emails at so many points. Maybe when they forgot their password, you want to send email. When they reset the password, you want to also send them an email. What I normally do is the function that sends email, I will bring it outside. I keep it outside. I create something like, some people call it helpers.js. You can call it helper.js. Sometimes I call it helper, but I call it utilities most times. Utilities means that yes, definitely we're going to structure this with MVC, but we need to understand all the topics individually before you see how they come together. MVC, you must do MVC. If you learn backend without learning how to do the MVC, I'm not sure it's complete. So we'll do that. So here we have utilities. Now it's called utilities because there will be smaller functions there. I put functions here, maybe the function to hash my password, I'll put it here. The function to get the current dollar rate, I put it here. The function to generate random numbers, random password, I put them here. So that's what utility is for, any random function. So here I will create a function that will send emails for me. So I'll write a function that creates email. So this will be called const send email is equal to an async function. So this is my function to send email, and then I will export the function with modules.export is equal to, because I might have other functions, so I will export more than one as an object like this and save it. So here I'll bring this down. So I have a function, it's not doing much now, it's just a simple function to send an email. Now when it comes to sending email with Node.js, there's a package we use for sending email, and it's called Node Mailer, like this. So to send emails, you use Node Mailer. Node Mailer is free. You can send as multiple emails as you want, but it then depends on the company you are working for. Some companies may want to use maybe SendGrid, Zoho, Google, anyone. They're all the same thing. So I will teach you how to use Google, because Google is totally free and absolutely free, but they're all structured the same way. So whether you are sending your messages with Google, or you are sending with Zoho, or you are sending with SendGrid, or any other one, even domain, what's it called, hosting accounts like GoDaddy, anyone you want to use, is your choice. So the first thing to do is to install Node Mail, or Node Mailer. So I mean yarn add Node Mailer. That is the dependency to send email in Node.js. So I'll hit enter, and it should install Node Mailer and NodeMailer is done installing here. I can close this now. The first thing is to bring in NodeMailer. I'll say const NodeMailer is equal to require NodeMailer, the one that is installed like this. All right. So at any point you don't really understand, like I said, they are the same thing depending on the service you are using. So for you, I'll be teaching you how to do it Google service, but you can use any other service. You just replace the service, that's all. They are the same structure, the same format, which is why I'm also writing it in a separate function. I'm not writing it inside the API in a separate function so that it can be easily, will I say, duplicated or reuse it. Yeah, easily reusable. So when you have that, the first thing is to create a transport. You may not understand what transport is, but you can call it maybe anything. Mailer transport, mail transport, transporter. That's what some persons call it. Yes, yes. There could be Google. Google can be your personal Google account. It can also be Google, the G Suite, the company account. But so long as it's Google, like it's Gmail, so it can be your personal Gmail account. It can be the company's Gmail account, or maybe they are using domain name email, but their service provider is Gmail. It's fine. Or maybe their service provider is Zoho, anyone. So it just depends on what email address they are using. But most times companies will use their domain name now, but they will not know which one to use. So you will be the one to suggest, maybe let's go with Zoho, let's go with SendGrid, like that. Yes, 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 yes. Yahoo can be used. Outlook, they can also be used. Yeah, that way. So to avoid writing everything from my head so that it will not look like I'm actually getting it from my head, I will also show you where you can find this function I'm trying, not this exact function, but something that you can customize. So I'll go to npm.js and then find NodeMailer. I think I should see NodeMailer and how to configure NodeMailer. So if you install NodeMailer, this is NodeMailer, and I think they should show us how to use NodeMailer. Okay, you configure it. There's not much here. Yeah, not much here, but we can find it on Google. NodeMailer. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. First thing is to create the transport, and here is the service you are using, STP, and the service, and then this is the user, their password, and their user email. This is what, so all of them put together is called the auth object, and that's the first thing. So this is the port, secured is false, but I like putting secure to be true. And the next thing is send this. So I will do it my own way, and if I also share the code with you too, so you can actually find it on Google or find it anywhere else, wherever you want. So the first thing is to create a transporter. So since we have NodeMailer installed, we say NodeMailer.create transport. NodeMailer.create transport. So we are trying to create transport. Now, transport simply means we want to define the service we are using and the login details we want to use. So if you use Gmail, you need to put the Gmail account, Gmail email address, and the Gmail password. That's what the transport means. It depends on what you are using, whether you want to use a secured email or non-secured email. Now, if sometimes when you send emails, those emails get bounced to spam folders. Those are for when this is set to false. When it's false, and it's not really when they're set to false, depending on some email might have restrictions that if you send them emails, they bounce to the spam folder. Some go direct to the inbox. Some go to the inbox after going to the spam folder. So it depends on when you are building it, you decide to check which emails bounce your emails. Either set it to false or either set it to true to see when it works better. But either ways, the two of them do this, not the same thing, but they might achieve the same result. So like I said, for the transport here, you want to define the service you are using, and if you are using Gmail, which is what we are going to be using, you put in the Gmail email address and you also put in the Gmail password. That is what this transport is all about. The service, the email, and the password. So here I'll put an object and open the object. The first thing is to define the service. So for the service, I want to use Gmail. Now, some people use STP here. That is when you are using a domain name. Some put STP Zoho, STP email address. You can change whatever the service is. So that's for the service. Now, the next thing is you want to put the auth. Now, the auth is the email address and the password. The email here, I'll just put my email, virtualsurvey.nigeria@gmail.com. So you can also put your own email if you are doing it. Then the password is going to be my password. We're going to come to the password later. Okay, so after you define the transport, the next thing is to define what you want to send. When I mean what you want to send, the email you want to send, the subject, who you are sending it to, and the email you want the user to see that is coming from. So then you define something called, you can call it mailing option, mailing details, whatever you want to call it. Mail details, however you want to call it is your choice. So I'll define this as an object. Yes. This is the same key, The only thing you are doing is you are changing this and you are changing this value. So, but you're not changing the auth and the service and the user. Now, sometimes it can be changed because here some people put host, but you can still keep it as service and it will work fine for you. Sometimes you can change it to host, but if you still keep it as service, it works fine. But it depends. I've only tried this with Google, Zoho, and SendGrid. I don't know about other emails, but yes, it's possible. It's very, very possible. What you can do is when the user send in their details to your APIs, what you can do is, as part, we're coming to that. So you decide how you want to use the emails. You can decide whether this particular email. Now, the thing is, this function can be more than one. This email, definitely it is going to be more than one. You will have one dedicated to sending registration emails, sending back to the user. You have another one to send back when you forgot your password. You have another one when you reset your password. You can have another one to notify the admin when users have done something. Hello admin, a user have just signed up for your program. So you can have another one. So you can have multiple of these email functions. What I'm just doing is how to define one. So if you're able to define one and it's working, you can duplicate it the number of times you want and whatever you want to send and whoever you want to send it to. So it's not compulsory that it must go to the user. No, it can go to anybody. It can go to you. You can put anybody's email as the receiver and it will still go through. So here you want to define the from. Who is the email from? You can put the person's email here. The to, you want to define who is the email going to. Then here you want to define the email subject, the subject of the email. So the last part here is what the user will read. what the person that receiving this email, what they will read. Sometimes you can send dummy text, but I like sending it as HTML page. That's like, for me, I like sending it as HTML page. So what I mean is we'll design the email. We'll design the email how we want it to appear. Of course, this is like one job, that's one thing that makes for the need of backend developers. There are companies that want customized emails. Their emails have to be customized. It doesn't just be any random email. They'll put their logo, put company name, put so many things. So if you know how to customize an email as a backend developer, a lot of companies like it so much. So they don't just go with the default template and all of that. So that is why I like keeping it as HTML. You can customize the email however you want. You just need to get the designer, the not graphic designer, sorry, the UI UX designer to design how the email will appear, and you write your simple HTML. When I mean HTML, I mean something like this. Div, of course, we've done HTML, and I'm sure you know what a div is, a closing div. So you open up this div. Inside this div, you define the header, the buttons, whatever you are sending to the user, you just define it like that. So basically, we are almost completing the send email. The first part is to define your transport. The transport is just the service you are using, the authentication, which means the email and the password to that email. And the next one is from who you are sending it to, in the mail details, the details that will be sent to the mail, who you are sending it to, the subject you want them to see, and how you want the body of the email to look like. So the body of the email, I can open it up like this. Notice that I have backticks here. So what I can do is open this up and say I want to put maybe H1 and then / close it with H1. Now this part HTML doesn't work here, so you will be writing it yourself. Welcome, hello David. Okay, hello David. I can duplicate this and say maybe this will be H2 and H2. Now I'm just doing a simple customization, but you can customize the email if you know HTML very well. Just design the HTML. If you don't know HTML very well, you get the front-end developer to customize the HTML for you, and then you put it here. So we are excited to have you join our team, like that. And then possibly here you can put a paragraph. Close this with P, and whatever is your paragraph, you just write it here. Yes, the HTML can be styled, but it has to be inline styling. It has to be inline styling. So what I mean inline styling, the CSS will also be here. The CSS will also be here. You don't have a CSS file outside. No, everything has to be done within this HTML. You style it here, you put the image here, you put anything you want to put, they all have to be here. Yes, you can design them outside, copy and paste, which is what I do. You need to see how it looks like, and then you can copy and paste it here, or you can be designing it here and be sending the email to see how it looks like in the inbox. To be designing like that. But any which way, you can design it and then copy it and just replace it here. Now, it's not compulsory you do this, but companies like their email customized. That is why I'm teaching you customize. You can just write a simple text here, change this email. It doesn't have to be HTML. Just change whatever you put here. You can call this the body. Once you just put this body here and write all your long text like that, that will be the default template. But when they want it customized, you have to change it to HTML and define the HTML. Yes, exactly. And they pay for it too. They pay for it too. Exactly. You can put the image, define the image how you want it to be. The names. Now, the names, what do we mean? The names are going to be dynamic. Of course, the names will not be hard-coded here. So that means that in the email here, you'll be accepting the name of the email user, the email of the user. So you'll be accepting so many things. Anytime you call this function, you should be passing in a different name. You should be passing in a different, the name should be dynamic. We'll get to that part where you can, you know what, let's just do it. Since you remember it, so we can just put a dynamic name here and call it name. But that means that you must be accepting the name of the user here. You must be accepting name of the user in the function. This function should be accepting name of the user. And also, you know what? Let's accept that this is the user email. You should be accepting the user email, and when you are sending to should be the user email too. So that's the email of the user, and the subject too. You have to accept the subject, email subject. So you should be accepting the email subject. So they all have to be dynamic details, but I wanted to hard code them first so that you see how they go. So the subject to be the email subject, whatever dynamic. Now this one here, who the email is from, most times is going to be from one particular email. So you can hard code it here. Something like say hello or support. I think it's or info, something like info shipped at youththrive.com like this. So most times a company will give you a dedicated email one. So there's no point making it dynamic. You can just hard code that particular email here. But for the user email, the user's emails will keep changing. It will not be one particular user you'll be sending to. So you accept the user email for every time you want to send. The subject can be hard coded depending on what you want. You can design this particular function to send only a particular email. So the subject can be hard coded, but if you want to use it for different subjects, that means the subject will be dynamic. If you want to add the user's name, you can make the user's name dynamic too. So I think with this, I'm done. I will just put the last thing, H6, and I'll say thanks here, like that. So I'm done customizing the details I want to send. I'm also done customizing the transport. So the last part now, and I did not put all of this inside try catch. Sorry. Let me do that now. I need to be using try catch so that in case I have errors, I know where my error is coming from. Try catch, and so for this try catch, because I'm using an external function, I will not be using response. No, I will not be using response. Rather, I will do return, console log for me what the error is. Console log the error for me. So I will not be using that. Then all of this, I'll put them inside the try block. So the last thing we need to do now, so sending a mail is in 3 parts. H6. Okay, let me confirm that I'm not closing it. Oh, sorry. Thank you for that. Sorry. So the last thing we need to do, sending email, is in 3 parts. The first part is define the transport. The second part is define the details you want to send. The third part is take the details, put it in the transport, and ask the transport to send. That is all. So meaning that you just say await, you call the transport you created. This is the transport I created. I'll call it here. I'll paste it here, transport.send. So transport.send mail, and you pass in the details that you want to send, which is this mail details. And ladies and gentlemen, that is all. That's how this is the email. Now, but this email will not go because we've not added password. But this is all to send an email. Now we're going to add the password so that we can actually test that the email is going. I like to make sure that everything is complete. So like I said, the first step is to define the transport. The second step is to define the details you want to send. The third step is to take the transport and ask it to send that details. And that is all. So that's how you send an email. Now, the last part is this password. How do we get password? If you notice very well, you will discover that for password, most accounts will ask you to do two-factor authentication, meaning that mail transport is a name. You can name, it's a variable name. You can name it anything. Mail options or mail details is a variable name. You can name it anything. Result is a variable name. So this mail transport here is this one I created here. So this is my transport, which is why I'm calling it here. The main keyword here is just this send mail. So this is the transport I created. This is the details I created. I'm just asking the transport to send these details. That's all. Yeah, you can use const if you want. You can, let's define this to be const. You can if you want. It just, you can use, you see here I used const. So you can use const. Now the thing is, whatever you want to do. So okay, mail transport is not a keyword, so comment it out. So here I want to add a comment. Create transport. Here create email details to send. Then here ask transport to send email details. So that's just the three of them. This part you define, but our transport is not complete without the password, which is why I want to explain that password for you. Now, most emails we ask you to create two-factor authentication. So if the email to this password is E12345 because I like using this for dummy passwords, this email will not go because this email is protected with two-factor authentication. When you pass in the email and the password like this transport will be asked to receive a code, OTP, but this is not a human being, it's a bot. So whether they send OTP, it will not know anything. So you as the owner, first thing you need to do is to remove that part. Create the two-factor. Let me just go to my email. I'll just go to my mail first. I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is mail. And this is the email I want to use. So this email has an email account. And if you go to manage account, we are using Google now. The first thing you want to do is make sure that that email you want to use has two-factor authentication. You want to take that part away so that your transporter will not be having issues with two-factor authentication. So make sure you go to security, however the email is, and make sure that you see two-factor or two-step verification turned on like this. So make sure that this is turned on, and then when you turn it on, it is inside here. You want to create a new password that you will use, not your normal email password, but it is called in-app password. I think in-app, I think so. Okay, it's called app passwords. So either it's called in-app password or app password, one of them. So that is the password you need, not the, okay, it's asking me to type in my password. And you know what? I've actually forgotten this password though. I just hope I remember. Next it. Are we in lock? Yes, we are in lock. So this is the password you want to create, the app password, not the normal password. Because if you use the normal password, it will be asking it to enter OTP. So you don't want to do that. So you just enter the name of what you want to call this password. I will call it Youth Thrive password. Youth Thrive password. Then create. So it has generated a password. Now this is the password you want to use. So you copy this password and make sure you don't lose it. So this is the password you want to use. So any email you want to use, whether it is Zoho email or SendGrid email, any email at all, make sure you set two-factor authentication on to take that part away. Then generate an in-app password on the platform there. Every platform has this. So you copy this email. When you copy it, you can come back to where, oh my. You can come back to where you are sending that and replace the password there. So forget about the spacing and all of that. You paste it the same way you copied it. But you should know that these details should not be here. They should be in your .env file, which is very, very important. So what I'll do is in my .env, I'll create more variables. I'll say the first one is the email. The second one is the email underscore password, like this. So I will copy this password, which is here. I'll cut it out and paste it here. Then this email too that I want to use, because these are my login details and you don't want to use them here. Then I will paste that here. So now how do I reference them? What I'll do is I'll come back to my utilities. Here I want to do something like, let me add them like this. So this is $, put $, quote, now say process.env.email, and then here too I'll say process.env.email underscore password. Now just make sure that they are the same spelling. I can just copy this one to make sure that they are the same spelling. Make sure that everything is the same spelling so that there'll be no errors. So ladies and gentlemen, with that being done, you have configured your password. I say your password. You've configured this function to send email at any time. So to test it out, we're just going to, somebody should drop us, just drop your emails. Let's see, if I use mine, the $sign is for string concatenation, string literal. So we want to use this variable and we are using backticks here. So because we are using backticks, we put it inside but you can do it without these things. You can do it without this, but I like adding the $sign and backticks like that. All right, so we're going to test it with all of these emails and see who is receiving emails. So how do we use it? That's the next thing. We want to use it at the part where you recover password. Where is it? At the part where you recover password. This is forgot password here. So we want to generate that and send this email here. So here we'll say const send, or say const response will be equal to, sorry, this has to be const. Why am I not spelling it very well? Const response will be equal to await, and the name of the function is send email. We copy send email, we paste it. Now send email is asking for these three things: the user email, the subject, the whatever it is. So let's add those things there. So what I can do is I can define these variables here, or I can put them and you know what, I will not put them here, rather I will put them here. So I'll be accepting them from the post requests. I'll remove this here. All right, we'll send those things. So what I'll do is, now it's asking me to pass in, the first thing I should pass into this email is the name of the user. That's the first thing to pass into this function. So I'll pick the name of the user here. Okay, separate this one. So I don't need this one. I have two emails, so I'll keep that one. So I'll pass in the name here. The second thing I need is the user's email. I'll pass in the user's email here. This, okay. The third thing I want to do is send the subject. I pass in the subject here to that send email. And when it's done, we'll get the response that says successful. So I'll save this. But there's a simple problem. The problem is all of your emails are not signed up on this platform. You know, it is going to try and find your account. If it doesn't find it, it will return. So what we'll do is we'll comment this one out so that it does not return. And if we comment it out, how do you generate the token? There'll be a challenge here because we need to also generate the token. I would have done it somewhere separately. I would have done it in a separate function, but I want to do it here. So I will hard code the email that I want to use to find. I'll hard code that email. I think that email is going to be here. I will hard code this so that it will find an account but send you the details that was found out, especially the access token and so on and so forth. So the first one is the youth tribe, and inside the youth tribe there has to be forgot password. So this is the email. I'll copy this. Okay, minimize this. What I want to do is here create a variable called const dummy email is equal to this. So find it by the dummy email like that. So that means it's definitely going to find it and it will do everything for the user and put in the user email here, generate an access token, sign the access token, put it in this URL and send you. No, this is going to be your own email now. It will then send this to you. So I'll save it. Now I want to pick these two in addition to the email and call the function. So first, this thing is not yet running. Let's see that it is actually running. Let's see that our server is actually running so that we don't build and it's not running. So it will be npm run dev. So npm run dev. It enter server running, MongoDB connected. So everything is working perfectly. We can go to Postman. So in addition to this one, we'll do these ones too. Okay, just a few minutes so I can command A, beautify it. So we already have emails. We are not duplicating emails. So let's go with the first person here. We'll copy your email and we are sending your no. This is going to be here. V and the subject will be password retriever. And the name is going to be Emmanuel. Let's put it as Emma. All right, so let's send this first one. It says user not found. User not found. Are we not? This is for forgot password. Are we not bypassing? I want to be sure that we are bypassing. It says user not found with this email. Why? There will be a problem. So what we can do is returning user not found. I want to, you know what? I don't want to comment everything out. I want to make sure we are finding a user. So let's register a user. This is to register a user in the body with this email. Let me remove that with this email and send it. It says this user account already exists. So why is he not able to find the user with this email if the account already exists? Why? I'll replace it here and save it again. So it should find the user with the dummy email, and then if not user, or the another place for passing email. So passing dummy email, and email will be done with user. So let's try again. I've forgotten where we got that forgot password here. So send request. It still says user not found. Why are we getting user not found? I'll try again. Yes, we are. Let's create an. Okay. We would have created an account. We can use it in different ways. What we can do is we can use that email where we are creating an account here. So instead of using it for forgot password, let's use it where we are creating an account for everybody. So, and this is the place where you are creating an account. Passing the email, passing this. Here we're sending email. So if we are sending email, we should be accepting the email subject. Let's try this part. So accepting the email subject here, and then the full name, replace the name with the full name. Replace the name with the full name and save it. Let's be sure. So we'll do for register and see whether it gets working. Server is running. Let's pick the first person. So we're going with, maybe it's actually from Emmanuel. Emmanuel doesn't have that lock. Let's try with the first person. Here, we'll replace this email here. Command V. Remove the name Prince. We'll put it OPC. So I'll send this now. And we have an error. It says email subject. Okay, we're not passing email subject, and also send email is not defined. So email subject and send email is not defined. So send email is a function. We need to import it. That's the first thing. Make sure we import this. Now send email subject. We are not sending it here. So now we've added this. Let's add it here. All right. Whatever you do, we are going to get it done. So I'll say password retriever. So I'll send again. This user account already exists. So it has created the account, but it did not send the email. Well, that's your luck. It didn't go to you. Let's try the second person. So it has created the account, but it did not send your email because we had error on that line. So we send this email again, and it's hanging, and then it was successful. So check your email. You should have an email. Let's try with this other person. We'll change this email Command V, and then we send this email. Successful. So check your email now. Check the spam folder too. You should see it in your spam folder too. So I will send to this email. Now, I'm not changing the name, but you know that we're supposed to change the names. But I'm not changing the names. I want you to confirm that you are getting an email in your inbox or your spam folder like that. And send this email. So that's sent. So here, send this one. Command V and send this email. That's sent to. So confirm that you are getting an email. Command V and send. Yeah, email is sent. Let's try this one. Place. Like I said, I'm not changing the names, but you should, of course, the names will be different names. But I just want to confirm that you are getting an email either in your inbox or your spam folder. You should see an email. Yes, and that was successful. So who got email? Exactly. This is nice. This is nice. So we did not customize the email well, but however, you will customize it yourself, and it's coming from my own email. What I can do, or what I can add for you, is this. I'm done with this. I can close this. What I can do is, where is my email? I can say that before the email here, let's leave that part. That's okay. So what you can do is you can have email for forgot password. You can have email. Nice. Sorry about the name. It's not your name. We are using the same name. So, but the names will be changing like that. So that's nice. Good. That's good. That's good. So that is how you send email, ladies and gentlemen. And like I said, we are using Gmail as our service. You can use any service you want, Zoho, and so on and so forth. And we are using from is actually coming from uThrive, but I think that part is not working. What you are seeing is my email. So the from, this email is not working. I think that's why this is not showing. But it's okay. When you have an email that is working, you can use the two of them together. So there's no point putting it separately. You can actually use the same email that you want to use here. You can send it here. I was thinking that it will not show that here, but it did show. It's fine. You save that. So that's how you send emails. Yeah. So because the other email is not functional, that's why you didn't get it. And it's not a Gmail actually. That's why. So we're using Gmail, but this is not Gmail. I think that's why you didn't get that the name. So, but when you have a functional email, whatever email you put here, that will be the email the users will see, like that. Right. All right. So now the last part of the email function, here. The email function has two parts or three parts actually. So the last part is here. You just defined this result. We're not doing anything with it. You can actually say return result here, but we're not doing anything with it. We're just sending the email. So, but the last part is this. So it has three parts. The first part, you create a transport. The second part, you create the details you want to send. The last part is to ask the transport to send that details, and that's all. So that's the last. So this transport here must be the transport you created here. These details here must be the details you created here. So you may not name them the same thing. Sorry about the network. I want to confirm that I'm recording this. Yeah, recorded. So hopefully by this week you'll get the videos. Sorry for the network issues. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is how you create. Now, the next thing you can do is, which we did not do, we are supposed to send a token to the user. So here we should collect token too. Token. Now this token will be like, command Z. This token will be like maybe the access token, maybe the URL, however you want to put it. So somewhere here, you should define an anchor tag or maybe a button. If you want, define an anchor tag. I want to believe you know what an anchor tag is, an A tag. So here you can say click to verify. Click to verify, and here you define the href to be, the href will be the token like this, and this has to be in dollar. So the href will be the token, so that when they click on this anchor tag, it will take them direct to the URL. But that's like on it. No. I think I can add that. Should I add that? Should I add that? How do I add that? You can define the URL and pass it in. Instead of passing URL, let's pass in URL. Instead of calling it token, we pass it in as URL. Now, the thing is this. The email you use will be the email the user will see. So this email, I'm sending it with my own email. That is why you are seeing, where is it? You are seeing my own email, but you will not use my own email and my password. You will not see it now. So whatever email you put here, that will be the email it will send with. So, and the reason why I'm not hard coding it here is because I want to show you that you don't have to hard code that login details here. So the email you put here as the owner of the account, which is this Gmail account, that's the email the users will see. And also, now it doesn't really matter what email the user is using. If the user is using Yahoo Mail or any other mail, it doesn't really matter. The only thing might be, it might take a while. Maybe it might take a few seconds. Some emails come late, some come very fast. So it doesn't matter the email the user is using. Exactly. You'll be likely be sending it with a company email. But most companies still use Gmail. So maybe they have their company email, but they are using maybe like G Suite or any of those Google services and connect it together. Exactly. The owner should provide the email. It's not going to be your email that you put here. I've just shown you that whatever email you put here, what you need to do is go to that account and generate an app password. That is all. The email doesn't really matter. If it's a company mail, you need app password, not the email password, but the app password, so that it can bypass two-factor authentication. So that's all. We can move on to the next thing. Now, if you have any questions, still ask your question before we move on to the next thing. So this is how you send email. You can duplicate this, one for registration, one for forgot password, one for reset password, one for when you funded the user wallet, one to send anyhow you want to use it. You can just customize it and use it differently. So the last part is for the part where we need to make sure that the user is logged in. The part where you make sure that the user is logged in. Okay, I got an email, two-factor authentication. So how do you do that? Now you're going to declare another middleware, maybe inside here, maybe not inside here, maybe in a different file. What I normally do is I'll create a folder for all the middlewares and put all of them in one folder. All right, in one folder. So when we are doing MVC, I will also show you how to arrange your folder structures very well. But for now, we just want to understand the basic concept, all of the things you need to know before we put them together. So once we put them together, we've finally completed the back end project. Now, it depends on where they have this. This kind of email is not a Google email. So this could be, they bought this email, they bought the domain name. This something.com is a domain name, and they are using a third party to send this email. So wherever they created this email, whether it is on G Suite, whether it's on Zoho, whether it's on SendGrid, anywhere they created this email, that is where you will create an app password. So this is a domain name, but depends on where they use it. Exactly, MVC, model view and controllers. Yes. So that's where you generate app password, because this is going to be a domain name. You need to first buy this domain. But if they are not using any of those, what's it called, Zoho, any of those third parties, then use this email directly. It will go like that. If they are not using third parties, this domain email was just, you bought the domain and you created the domain like that without two-factor authentication, without anything, then use the email like that, it will go. But if they created this in a third party, in an email provider, then you need to generate a password in that email service there. So let's talk about how to make sure that the user is logged in. Now, I want to believe we already know what middleware is. So it means that the same way we are using this middleware here, we're also going to be using another middleware here. A particular endpoint can have 3, 4, 5, 10 middlewares that are doing so many things. So we can create one middleware to check that the user is logged in. We create another middleware to check that the payloads are correct. We can create another middleware to check something else before the request will finally reach the end, the function that will handle it. I want to understand what you mean by send with an object. That email. Here in this email, you are going to be defining, customizing how it will appear. You want to put URL, you want to put this. Let me remove this first so that the email will not hang, because I don't have anywhere we are calling this URL. We're not passing in URL. So, but you will define how this email will look like. Now, if this email is meant to show transaction details, you know, somewhere here you put reference transaction, put amount, put the email, put all the details. So I don't see why you'll be sending as an object, but you define how it will appear. Based on how you appear, you enter the dynamic values that you want to enter and you send. So, but I don't really understand what you mean by sending an object. That's fine. But once you define how the body of the email will look like, whatever it requires of you, you can put it like that, how you want it to look like. So, but the most important thing is you have a format for which to send the email. So let's go to here. So I will create another middleware to handle authentication. Auth middleware. Now don't worry, we are going to clean up all of this when we are talking about the MVC. When it comes to backend, don't be surprised that you can have up to 100 or even more files. You can have so many files that you created yourself, not these node module files, or the ones you created. You create so many files, so many things, so many like that. So here I will say const verify user is equal to async. We're trying to create a middleware that will verify that the user is logged in before we do anything. Okay, this is going to be the only function that will be expected here, so I'll just keep it as default. Are you kidding me? Verify user. So verify user is this middleware function. Okay, how you add it is simply by going to the, where is that register function again? You go to that register function. Now in the register function, we have different lines. This is the first line, this is the second line, the third line, the fourth line. So when you are done with everything you are doing in this function, before you send the response back, you want to define a variable. Now, we're not using the variable for anything. This variable can be called anything. We're not using it for anything, but the most important, you can actually remove all of this. You can actually remove all of that and then send, await the send email. Now the send email here, you make sure it is imported. See, the send email must be imported from where you defined it. This is utilities. This is where we define send email. You can name it anything you want, but make sure you import it with that name. So here we'll say await. So await means wait for send email. A send email is expecting 3 variables here. Now it doesn't have to be 3, it can be 5, it can be 10, it can be 20, whatever you are designing. You'll be the one to choose how to design. So it's expecting variables here. This is 3. Now if you check the function, you see that it's expecting the name, the user email, and the email subject, just 3. So when you call the function, you pass in those 3 variables here, and that's all. So its duty, the duty of the function is just to send that email. That's all, nothing much. All right, so let's go back to our middleware to verify. I want to believe you've seen how to send the email. It's just one line. When the email is done, it will proceed to send back a response, which will be the end of the endpoint or the API. So here we are verifying user. We're going to copy this verify user and put it inside one of these routes. Maybe let's define a different route. We say app.post. Post is going to be /fund account. And we don't have a function here, but we're supposed to put a function. Now, well, let's define the function so that we don't, let's do things the way it should be. Now, the parameters, if those parameters that the function is expecting here, is expecting a full name, is expecting an email, and expecting a subject email. So if they are not defined here, you can define them in this function, but if they are not defined here, you can actually add them to the request body. So in the request body, we are accepting an email, we're accepting a full name, we're accepting password, we're accepting phone number. Now you can define the subject of this email, because here now there's no point for the user to send you the email subject. You can define the subject here and say before the email should send, let's get an email subject here by saying const subject is equal to password or any subject that you want to use. So you can define the password, the subject of the email here. So this has to be const like that, because this one now the user has no business sending us the subject of our email. Will be the one to define what the subject of our email should be, and whatever details that this send email function is expecting, you can define it here if you want. Just define them here. But the ones that the user will be sending you, like the user will be sending you their names, they will send you their emails, we can't define them here. The user has to be sending it, which is why we are accepting them in the request body. So, but what I did before was to also accept this email subject from the request, but you don't have to. You can define it here because it's going to be one particular email. You can also define it here in the email subject. You can just hard code the subject here. There's no point making it dynamic, but anything is possible. However you want to do it, anything is possible like that. So here we want to create a function to fund wallets. We are not funding the wallet. What we want to just do is to verify that the user is logged in. So I will copy this and paste it here. We are not funding wallet. We just want to make sure that the user is logged in. So I can remove this here. Are you serious? Why do I have so many things inside this function? Sorry, I want to delete all of this. I don't know why I have so many things inside. I didn't realize that. So this function is not doing anything. I'll call it fund wallet. That's the function. It's not doing anything. It should just say wallet funded successfully. Remove all of this, remove that, and it's using try catch. So the function is practically empty. So the function is empty, it's not doing anything. We can copy this and add it here and save that. So to use it, we first need to import it here. The functions are plenty, but it's good. It's good. We'll put it here. Fund wallet. Now this verify user, we need to make sure it is imported. Import it to and save it, and also save this. So what we have is that when you hit this endpoint to fund your wallet, it will verify that you are logged in before it will fund your wallet. So that's what we want to do, to verify that a user is logged in before you perform a certain task. So how do we do that? First, we can just first make a request to this endpoint and see what happens. So I will create a request, and it has to be a post request, and it's on localhost, but the endpoint has to be this fund wallet. So if I send this request, now you see that it is hanging, and I want to believe you know why this request is hanging. I want to believe you know why the request is hanging. Are we still in a class? Because it looks like if you know why this request is hanging, drop a thumbs up. If you know why this request is hanging, drop a thumbs up. If you know why this request is hanging, good, 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 good. Anybody else? Right, right. Good. So what we're doing is here, when the request comes here, this verify user will intercept the request and bring it here, but inside here We're not doing anything yet, which is why the request is hanging. So what we want to do is to verify that the user is logged in. The only way that you know that a user is logged in is if a user has access token. That's the only way you know that a user is logged in. Okay, the information is overloaded. Should we stop here? Should we stop? Should we end the class here? The only thing we did today was to send emails. That's the only thing we've done. How to send email. It's only one. Yeah, we only did how to send emails. Now the good part is you will get the function. I said the function. You will get my codes. And also is a code that you have seen before. So whatever was added, you will see it. You'll be able to identify the new parts that we are added. So let's just do to verify that a user is logged in, so that we'll make it two things. We've been able to send email and we've been able to verify that a user is logged in. The only way to know that a user is logged in is to get the user token, the access token. You must get their token. So we say const their token, and the front-end developer will be adding their token in the request head, in the head of the request. And the part where they are adding it is the authorization. Now I know I've not explained authorization for you before, but let me explain it. Format this document so that it looks well. Yes, so it looks like this. So this accepts the request and the response and the next function. Put comma here. So I want to explain what this is the request. Now we have seen request body, we have seen request params, but we have not seen the request header. So the request header is a part of the request, the head of the request. So the head of the request comes with so many things. For example, if you come to this, what is it called? Postman, you will see authorization here. This is the authorization. So if you click on authorization, there are different types of authorizations. There's JWT bearer, there's the bearer token, there's the basic auth. These are different tokens. So what we are using is either the bearer token or the JWT token. Now the basic auth is about email and password. If you define it that they have to send email and password, that is if you're using email and password. But we're using bearer token of this. But you can also go to the headers. If you go to the headers, in the headers you can add them manually, whatever you want to add in the headers. So here I'm adding authorization. Forget that this thing is very short. If you look at it very well, you know that this is authorization. So the front-end developer will be adding the token of the user in the authorization that comes with the request header. That is how the front-end developer will send it. So what we want to do is see whether we are getting that token. So I will console log the token when I make the request again. So I will make the request again here, and I will send this request. Is hanging. If I check here, you see that the token is empty. That is because when we try to access the request header, the authorization part of the request header, the user did not add any token. So what we can do is log in. Let's log in. Where do we have a login? We don't have a login. Are you kidding me? I thought we had a login somewhere. Yeah, we have a login. So let me see that this will get us a token. So it's getting us a token. So what we can do is copy this token. Okay, here we are console login. I think this is the part of the login. So what we can do is, let me go to that file again. I don't want us to be confused. In the login, I sense that we are console logging something here. So we are console logging the user. I'll remove it so that we don't have that showing up there. So here I'll say Control L. Oh, no. Control C, Control L, and then run it again to see that it's running. So how do we add the token? Now, to add the token, I will come back to where is fund wallet. This is fund wallet. There are two ways to add it here. So if you add it here, the first part is by adding it in the authorization. So select the authorization, select the bearer token, and you paste the token here. That's the first way to add it. Okay, now when you talk about cause, we're going to talk about cause. Now, what cause does is it allows the front end to be able to communicate to your back end. We are going to talk about cause in details later, but it has to do with communication between the front end and the back end, cross origin. So, but let's talk about this token. So here we've added the token. If we send this request again and check our console, you see now that we are gaining access to the token. But the token is coming with a keyword called bearer and the token together. Bearer and the token. So which means that here we are gaining access to the token. But what we want to do, we don't want to use this bearer. So we're going to use JavaScript to separate these two things. We're going to split them here that there is space. We'll split them and it will become array. This will be the first one. This will be the second one. So we'll pick this second one. This is the one we need. We don't need this bearer. We need this one. So what we can do is take the token and split it. So we say, so what do I call it now? Let me call this one TK. I'll call this one TK, and I'll call this one cons token is equal to take TK and split it. Take TK dot split. Split it where you have space. That's what it means. So split it where you have space and console log only the token this time. Console log only the token. So what we are doing is, here the token is coming, but it's coming with this attached keyword bearer. Now this is very, very important. You must be coming with the bearer. So, but because we need only this part, we have to split this string where there is space. So we split it for where we have space and then see whether we are getting only the token this time. Where we added the token is this. You click on authorization. When you click here, this is where you can select the body, select anything you want. So we click on authorization. And when you select authorization, this place will open. Then the part you need is this bearer token. The bearer and the token. This is the part we are working on. So we select bearer and the token. We then paste the token we copied here. That's how we added the token. So I can send this request again. I've sent it. It is hanging. Now, if you see, then you see that we're getting an array. The token is now an array. We have the first one, which is the bearer. We have the second one, which is our token. So, and your knowledge of an array and how to pick from an array, you should know how to pick from an array. Now, I'm doing this step by step, but we can do this all in one line. So I'll call this token array. Now what I want to do is to get only the token. I'll say const the token now will be equal to the token array dot the first one, that the one at index 1. You know that this will be at index 0 and this other will be at index 1. So we have the token. Let's console log it again. and see that we're getting only the token. The first step is to get the token from the head. When you get the token from the head, you split it. When you split it, you pick only the token. So if I send again, now it's hanging and I have only the token. It's only the token I have now. So now that I have the token, what I can do is, this token was generated with JWT. So I will need JWT to verify the token for me. JWT is equal to require JSON web token. Yeah. So I need JWT to verify the token. Const verified token will be equal to JWT dot verify here. So since it's going to verify, the same thing we did in the login, that's exactly what we're doing here. So we're going to pass in the token and what we use to generate it. So this is the token. And then the other part was the one we got from our process, sorry, not this. The other one is the one we got from our process environment here. So we have our token here. So this is our access token. I'll copy it and come back here. We want to verify process.env.access token. So what we are basically doing is this. We've picked the token from the authorization. We split it where there is space. We select the second one. Now we want to verify that that token, we are the ones that generated it with this particular one. So when we verified it, I will copy this and paste it here. Let's see what we are going to get from it. So what I would then do is come back again. Let me see, do I have any question? Okay, none. So I will send it again. It's still hanging. It means that it did not crash. I will check. Now you see it is getting us the verified token. It's giving us the ID of the user. So now we see the user's ID and we see the user's email. Now these were the two things we used to generate that token. So if I come back to login, where's the function to login? If I come back to the function to login here, you will see that these two details, the ID and the email, were what we used to sign. So we sign the user's ID and we sign the user's email. So if you put anything you put here, by the time the token is decoded, that is when you know what or who the user is. So currently we don't know the user, but we are seeing the user ID and the user email. So what we can do is say, when we get the user email, so at this point now we want to say if not verified, we want to say if not verified token. So if the token is not verified, we want to tell the person, please log in now, or tell them invalid authentication. Anyone. So you return a response.status of 401 and a JSON message. The message can be invalid authentication, or you tell them please log in now, anyone. Or you tell them what's this keyword I normally use? Sorry. Access denied. I like using access denied like this. So you can use access denied, you can use invalid authentication, you can use please log in now if their token is not verified. But if their token is verified, and you see here that it is going to be returning the ID of the user or the email of the user, what you can do is, using either the ID or the email, you want to find who the user is on your database. You want to find who the user is on your database. So what you can do is say const user, sorry, this has to be const, is equal to await. Now the auth is this auth is our model. You need to make sure that you are importing the auth model, which is the user model. So find one. So we can say find one, and here it's your choice whether you want to find them by the email or you want to find them by the ID. Anyone, but make sure that what you have here when you are creating that token, make sure you add what you will use to find who the user is when that token is verified. So here you have the option to find with the ID, you have the option to find with the email. So what I can do is say I want to find them with their email. So I'll say find them with their email using the verified token.email. Sorry, we have entered backend. Now we have entered backend. Go. And I'm sure some persons are already sleeping off by now. So if you are still following me, drop a thumbs up. We're almost done with it. If you are still following me, drop a thumbs up so that I know that you are still here. Some persons are already sleeping off. Oh, are you serious? Isha, you are still following? Samuel, don't sleep. Don't sleep. Well, we've entered the backend now. That's one thing with backend. Backend is like telling you the secret. You know, sometimes people don't like teaching backend. I see a lot of person teach backend and I'll be like, you don't even know what you're doing. But now backend is like telling you the secret, because you now know how other people are building their applications. Not everybody that's good with backend, Sha. So the backend, you have to do your backend in a way that people don't really know what you're doing. But if you're a good backend developer, you will be able to understand what every backend is doing and how they are doing it. Now, backend, you don't visualize it in the screen. Yeah, you don't see much on the screen. That's the main logic, the main things. It happens behind the scene. You know, when they decide who's the president of this country, it's not in our front. They decide it. They decide it behind the scene. And then they come out and tell us, this is your president. And we think we're the one that voted, but it has been decided already. So, but behind the scene, that's for the backend. Don't say I said that. I did not say that. You didn't see me. So what we want to do is we want to find the user. When you find the user, we'll find the user. We're finding them by their email. But if you want to find them with their ID, let me just add that part for you. Underscore ID, and you find them with the ID like this. I think it's called ID. Yes. So you can use either of these two to find the user. So when you find the user, but if you don't find the user, you want to send back a response. If not user, you want to send back a response. So sorry, this I will return this. So here I will say 404 and then say user not found, or user does not exist. Anyone, user not found. But let's see whether we're actually getting the user. So I will console log the user and see that this is the last part. We have reached the last part of it. I forgot try catch, but you know what try catch is, so you should be able to use try catch. I forgot try catch because I want to finish it very fast, and I don't want it to look complicated too. That's why I didn't use try catch. And also, I'm not having any errors. If I was getting errors, I would have used try catch, but I'm not getting errors. So I will send this request again, and it's hanging. That means we're not getting errors. So if I check my console, I see the user here. This is the user. I see the active through. I see their ID. I see their email. I see their full name, their password. Now, this password, you don't need it. You need to remove the password. But I see everything that the user used to create the account. So this is how you verify a particular user using their token. So what you can now do is, before you send a request on their way to continue, before you send a request on their way to continue, you attach something to the request. This is more like saying request.user is now equal to user, and then you call the next. So this is more like saying, as a police officer, you caught somebody, you found somebody, and the person needs to go to the station. Instead of saying, hello, go to the station, you can go to the station on your own, you will put one police officer in the vehicle and say, go to the police station with this police officer. So that when you reach the police officer there, this person, when they see the police officer, they know, okay, this is the person you're coming with. So what we are doing is we are attaching the user now to the request. So before we send the request on its way, the user that we found, we attach it to the request. Meaning that by the time the request is coming here, by the time the request is coming to this API here, we already know who the user is. So what we can do here is say we want to accept the user request. The user is equal to request.user, like this. So this means that we are creating a user and attaching it to the user, to the request in this endpoint. That's what we're doing here. We have found the user, we are attaching the user to the request. So by the time we send the request on its way, if the request is coming here, we already know who the user is, so we can return the user also. So let me see that this is working. If it crashes, we'll find where the error is, but if it doesn't crash, we know it's working. So I'll send this request and you see that the user is coming back here. So ladies and gentlemen, now I know it's difficult, but nothing good comes easy. Some people say if it was easy, everybody would do it. If it was easy, you start seeing people doing backend, but it's not easy. So that's why you don't see people doing backend. So that is how you verify that the user is logged in. So you pick, the first thing is to pick the token from the authorization. Now that authorization will be coming with the bearer and the token. You split it where there is space. When you split it where there is space, then you pick the second one from it. The second one will be only the token. And then you verify your token. Make sure that you are the one that generated that token. When you verify the token, it is going to bring out all the details you use to generate that token. So with the details you use to generate the token, you will find who the user or who the owner of that token is. When you find the user, you attach that user to the request and send the request on its way. So by the time the request is getting to your API, the API already know who the user is, and you can send back the user. So when you send this request now, it will tell you. So, but if for any reason you make mistake and attach, for example, let's attach TT and then send this request. You see that it has crashed. The reason why it crashed is because we're not using try catch. But what it's telling us here is that this is an invalid signature. So if I use try catch, let me put it inside try catch. So I'll put try catch here. And here I will return, you know what, let me just copy it somewhere. I'll copy this here, paste it here. So I'm returning an error message if there's any error, but I want to put all of these things inside the try block. Yeah, so I've put them in the try block and I'll save it. So see that my server is running. If I send again, I get a response, invalid signature. So sorry for that break. Let me be sure you can see my screen. So if you can still see my screen, drop a thumbs up. Yeah, it's not easy. I understand. Yeah, it's not easy. I understand. Yes, the split method will return array, because if you split it, it will be return multiple strings. It will not be only one string again. And you know that array are variables that hold multiple values. So it will return multiple strings, only two strings, because there is only two of them. It will return only two. Yes, yes, try catch is very, very important. Try catch is very, very, very important. Very, 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 very. All right, that's good. That's good. So, if you understand to this point, believe me, you are a good backend developer. In fact, I will encourage you to put in time, build project, apply for project, or you're a good back-end developer. If you understand to this part we have done now. What we have done, you can sign up a user, hash their password, save their password. You can log them in, find the user, generate, now compare their password, generate a token for them and send it to the front end. And then you can send the user an email if they want to retrieve their password. You can send them an email. And also, if they want to do something, separation of concern. I want to understand what you mean by separation of concern. What separation of concern? So if you understand what we've done so far, then, so this verify now, this middleware, you can add it to any of these endpoints that requires that the user must be logged in. For example, this reset password. This reset password, we are not supposed to find the user by their email, but with the access token. So if you pass verify here, it means before this function will run, it already know who the user is, like that. Front end has their own task too, because front end will be the persons to design the beautiful page, how it will be beautiful. Now you, the back end, you're not concerned with whether it's beautiful or not. You're concerned with whether it is working or not. So you build the functionality, the brain, the heart, but it is the front end developer that will build the body and make it look fine. Yes, do make it look fine and all of that. But it is the back end that will build the brain, the heart, and make sure that the brain is working. Otherwise, it will die, and you don't want it to die. That's, yeah, you can do this. You can put similar codes into similar files. You can do that, which is why I said we're going to arrange all of this in our next class, which is maybe that will be the MVC part. We arrange all of this and make sure that all the middlewares will be inside the folder for middlewares. All the functions will be inside controllers. All our routes will be inside the routes. All the utilities will be inside utilities, like that. So that's what MVC is. Arrange the whole file and put them together separately. Front end is easy, Joe. Don't mind that. Front end is easy. You, even if you are not, now one thing about front end is the moment you gain access to a Figma file, you can generate the whole front end. The front end, you can just be generating it. Like it will just be generating the pages for you. And also, you don't even have to code it. There's a lot of templates out there on Team Forest, on so many forests. So that HTML template that you can easily convert to React or Nest.js. So front end is easy. It is the back end that you will build logic. When you build the logic, now the only part that is difficult for the front end is when you are consuming APIs. That's the part I see very, very difficult, consuming APIs. Now, if consuming APIs, is difficult, how about the person that built the APIs themselves? Is it easy? So if consuming API is difficult for you, how about the person that built the API? Yeah, I know that consuming API is difficult. So it's difficult, but how about the person that built the API, created the documentation, packaged it and deployed it, and then sent you a URL? How about that part? Is that one easy? Yeah, we're going to treat what causes cause error. Now, as a backend developer, most times you want to make sure that it is only who you give access that will be able to connect to your backend. You don't give access to anybody, they will not be able to connect to your backend. I think we're going, do we still have time? Would have treated cause, but we're going to treat cause. Cause is a special, is very, very special when it comes to development. It's very, very special. Okay, I have been pushing this code to GitHub. You still want me to be pushing codes to GitHub? I thought you were following me. Exactly. We have Bootstrap. We have so many of them. Yeah, I will push the code to GitHub. They all have their pros and cons. Now, you can't have a backend developer without a front end. You can't have a front end without a backend. So both of them go hand in hand. And none of them is easy. None of them is easy. None. Even though I think front end is easier, which is why you see a lot of persons going to front end. Do you know how many persons are learning front end in this program? Like your number has never reached 40, but the people learning backend, front end will bring your number into 5 or even 4, if not more than. So you have so many persons learning front end, and that's because it is easier to learn. That's because it's easier. There is no other easier way of doing this. You have to code it yourself. You have to code it yourself. You can go with written notes to do your own personal documentations, but you can also use any software that you are using to test your APIs to generate documentation. So I used Postman to generate my documentation and customize it however I want. Yeah, front end is easier for beginners. Front end is easier. Now back end becomes easier when you have built your first project. That's the only time backend becomes easier, because the moment you've been able to build one full project, you will discover that all the projects are exactly the same. You're just changing the schema in one way or another, but they are just virtually the same. So, but for front end, it's very easy to pick up. You can pick it up at any time. Alt 3, okay, and create that. So to push this file to GitHub, I need to open this, open Alt 3 here, shift, and shift. Nope. Command shift. Here. So loading. There is so many backend works. The question is, do you have the patience to build it? Now, it's not everything I've taught you, but hopefully I'll teach you a great deal. And the project too that you build will teach you a great deal so that you can start building backend project. But one thing is, companies will be asking for so many things, dynamic things. You'll be learning every day. You'll be learning every day. Yeah, for JavaScript is also easy. And what we are coding is actually JavaScript. So in. I can save this. So hopefully today you've seen, I think I have my utilities here. I didn't send this email and password because did I? I think I sent it. My .env is going to be here. Is my .env file here? My .env is not here. That's good. So for this send email, try it. Go to your Gmail, set two-factor authentication, and generate an app password for yourself. So every other thing here looks good, but just the email and the password that are not here. So I'll copy this. I think it's here. And I'll drop that in the general group. Yeah. So do we have any question so far? Yes, the backend needs time, which is why I want to give you your project now, because we still have 4 weeks. It might take you 1 week to finish. It might take you 2 weeks to finish. It might take you 3 weeks to finish. But I want us to start now so that you have time to finish your backend project. Now, if the client gives you an email, you, the backend developer, will go to that email they are using, except they are not using any third-party service. They are using, what is it called, the domain name like that. You can use that email password. But if they are using a third-party service, which we know they will, because if they are not using it, you will tell them to get it. Now, the reason why they are getting it is the services send those emails faster than the domain. The domain might take you 1 hour before the email can arrive, especially if you are sending to another domain email. So imagine you are sending from youth drive domain email to maybe virtual survey domain email. It will take up to 1 hour for that email to arrive. But if you're using a third-party email, it arrives in seconds. So which is why if they are not using third-party service, you tell them, you suggest it to them. If they want their email to be faster, they should use third-party service. Now, if they are using third-party service, then you must generate app password for it to work like that. That's good. It's good. Study it. And so any question? Now, if you have any question in the course of now, what we want to do is the first one is we're going to have everybody will build authentication, be the basic login and log and then registration, build forgot password, build reset password. Everybody will build it. Now, where the difference will come in will then be for those who are building for wallets, you are going to check that the user is logged in before you fund their wallet. For those who are going to be building e-commerce, you are going to check that the user is logged in before they can complete their order, before they can place a booking like that. So, and other different things, but they will all be the same pattern. The project will all be the same pattern. The funding part is easy now. Once you just create this thing, the wallet balance, which is going to be a key in the schema. You create the wallet balance. The default is going to be 0. Any number they post to you as the amount, you add it to that 0. Any number they post to you to the amount, you add it to the wallet balance. That's all you're doing. That's how you fund the wallet account. Now, the part I'm not doing, which I may or may not cover, is adding a payment gateway. Maybe like Flutterwave or maybe Paystack. Those are the people that will collect the money. But you, the backend developer, you are just increasing the amount in the wallet balance. That's all. But before you increase the wallet balance, you need to make sure that Paystack or Flutterwave has actually collected the money from the user before you increase the wallet balance. So we are taking away that payment gateway there, and we're just verifying that the user is logged in before we increase their wallet balance. If you really want that part, just pray that you pick a number that matches that part. But it doesn't matter. Everybody's own is going to be unique. I don't have all the projects in mind. For now, I have e-commerce and that wallet. I might have another one. So you know what? We are going to create, let me create a group here now. That will be a new topic. It's going to be called Final Project. So in this final project, don't paste anything. Don't do anything. All you want to do is pick a number. Where is that final project, sir? I'm not seeing it again. No. I have created it. All right. So we have final project. Come to this place, drop a number from 1. Should I go with 5 or 4? 5 or 4? 5? No, don't drop a number yet. I will tell you when to drop a number so that I'll know whether it will be 5 or 4. But here is where you drop a number, and anything that has to do with the final project, we'll talk about it here. Like that. So any questions again? In the absence of any questions, can we drop a thumbs up so that we end today's class? Any question? Fine. Thank you. Thank you. See you again next week. And also expect an assignment. We are going to have an assignment which is not our final project. So we're going to have an assignment, and then we'll have our final project too by the side. The final project might take us a while, but soon I will drop a message in this final group, and when we're ready, and I'll drop a message that you can start picking numbers. Until then, see you again next week.